Hello all. Hello all. Series of planning tickets. Hello all. Series of planning tickets. Hello all. Series of planning tickets. There are some technical errors we are facing. Sorry for the disturbance and the voice issues we are having today. So I'll start again. We have few of the tickets to solve today, which are all having issues in the member properties. If you see the first one, data input is not allowed for members say 4110. It is marked as dynamic calc. So let's go to the account dimension. 4110 is a member of account dimension. So let's go to the application and see this member. So through the navigator I will go to the dimensions, and here let's search for the member 4110. So this is a member of total revenue. This is sales, hardware sales. If you see the member data storage property, this is dynamic calc. So let me first give you a brief overview on the data storage property, which is very important. It affects the overall calculation and performance of the member. So these are the options over here. These are the various data storage options provided in the application. We will take the first one as never share here. Never share ensures that stored parent members always store data from the aggregation of child members. So it stores data independently even if it is shared across hierarchies. That is why the name is never share. So it is used when the same member exists in multiple hierarchies, but those members are supposed to have unique data for each of the hierarchy. That is, the data will not be shared ever in any of the hierarchies. For all the base members, if we want to share them in any other hierarchy and we don't want to share the data, then we will use never share. Then store option, it holds data values that can be directly entered or loaded. Generally the base level members are having data storage so that the data is input or loaded directly. Then we have dynamic calc. The member does not store data if the data storage option is dynamic calc. Instead, its value is calculated dynamically at runtime based on formulas or aggregation rules. For example, members like gross profit. So all those members who are calculated on fly have the dynamic calc property. Similar to it is dynamic calc and store, where it will calculate as well as store for faster retrieval. Then we have shared data option. So here this will allow members in the same dimension to share data values. It is just opposite to never share. So if we want to reuse the same member in multiple hierarchies without duplicating data storage, we can use shared members. Lastly, label only. So here, if it will just display the data of the first child member regardless of the aggregation setting of the children. So for all the members where we just want to view the data, we will use label only. So if we see, this is a base level member, and here the property if you see the member property, data storage is dynamic calc. That is why one is not able to input data, because the nature of dynamic calc is that it is not going to store any data. It will just calculate, it will just aggregate. So we have to make this property as store and save this. Okay, now I have to refresh the database because I made changes. Refresh is completed. Now I will go to the application here. Sorry, not in the application. I will show you this in the smart view. First, I connected this already to the application, and here I have to change the POV. So I will take the members from member selection option. This is base data I want to take for HSP view data dimension. Then scenario. We'll take it as plan. Then version. We'll take working version. Product will take P_000. Year FY24 and period will take as Jan. Entity I have to choose from the member selection. I will take 110. Just refresh it and pivot this entity, because here I want to drill down the account actually. And here I am looking for member 4110. Let's do the quick search. So let's take the parent 4001. Okay, now our ticket was 4110 and we were not able to input data here. So I will input some data over here, let's say 10, and I will submit this data. Now you see, if since I have changed the data storage property from dynamic calc to store, now it is taking the input value, storing it itself, and it is getting aggregated on the parent member. Now the next ticket, total revenue is not the sum of all revenues. So this is but obvious, because see, the first ticket itself is related to the second ticket. What is happening in the first ticket? Data input is not allowed for 4110. Now 4110 is one of the members of total revenue. Now in the next ticket, total revenue, it is whatever sum is giving, it is not summing up all the revenues. This is because one of the base level entity was marked as dynamic. Here I'll change the alias. Okay, now you can see here this is total revenue. Earlier we were not able to input the figure, and that is why total revenue sum was now not coming up properly. It was not summing up the entire revenues. Now if we have changed the member property of one of the base members, and here if we input the other sale members, let's suppose 20 for support and 10 again for consulting sales, training, let's suppose make it 40, miscellaneous revenues coming from various sources, let's make it 10 again, and there is payment discount, let's make it 5. Now if I submit this data, I am getting the actual aggregation. Everything over here is getting aggregated, and I am getting the correct figure in total revenue. All the children members here of the sale are having data storage property as store, which I will show you in the application. If you see, all these members from here are having store property. This is the correct and appropriate property, data storage property for base level members. And the total revenue, since we are not going to input any data on parent, in fact this is going to calculate on fly, that's why the member property is dynamic calc. So now if you see the sum of total revenue, it is basically sum of the base level revenues over here. Moving ahead, now this is saying, third ticket is saying total load is getting failed for entity 150. So there is one entity which is 150, and this entity is a descendant, it is a child of entity 100, and data load is getting failed for this. So let's go to the application first and check for this entity. So I will go to entity dimension, here search for entity 100. Now this is entity 100, drill it down. So if you see this 110, 111, 112, 120, 130 and 140 as the descendants of 100, but we do not have 150 entity over here. So if such member, if it does not exist in the metadata, so it is our first and foremost requirement that we consult with the client whether this entity exists in their ERP, in their legacy. So if it exists 150, it is not, you can see it is not, you cannot see it here. So when this application was configured, fully at that time, there wasn't any such entity. It might have come up added afterwards. So if in the ERP systems, if in the client's books the entity is existing, then we have to create the entity over here. And once we create that entity, data load will be possible. So over here on the top pane, provided various options are there to add child, to add sibling, cut, paste, to edit the member properties, or to delete any of the members. I will add sibling to this. 150, and here I will give it the name as new resources. And here you have to be precautious while selecting data storage. This is a descendant, so we will select store. In the case of entity, store is basically taken in the case of account dimension and any other dimension. In the case of entity, this is going to be never shared. That's it, and I will save this. Now I have added this entity. I have to refresh the database. Okay, this is finished. So this is entity 100. Let us go to the smart view, and here we will keep like first let us delete the figures over here. I've deleted the entire figures that I've submitted, and I will keep just one of the members here because now I want to drill down the entity. So keep only. Okay, and now this entity, I'll pivot this. Now I'll take it as 100. There's some error coming. Let us select from the member selection. Search pattern does not match. Okay, this is because we have chosen alias. Change alias, make it none. Okay, let us check the application. Application is working. Now you see 150 entity was not there, we have added here, and now data input was the ticket was like data load is getting failed for entity 150 because obviously this member is not there. Now there are two methods. Either we can load through the smart view, or we can load this data load. We can load this through the data management. So the issue was in the member was not there in the application. So if such kind of tickets come when the data load is getting failed for any of the members, first check in the metadata whether that member exists or not. If it doesn't exist, we have to create that member in that particular dimension. Okay, next ticket, data is loaded twice for entity sales, and now it is required to roll back. So there is some entity which is sales. I will change the entity from here. Okay, so this is 403. So this entity, this has got data loaded twice. So this is a parent entity. That means data from all these entity has been loaded twice. So let's suppose we've taken this account, this is revenue hardware, and we are loading data for on this account for all these entities, and the parent entity is this is sales. And here let's suppose we the data entered is 100, 200, 50, 22, 80, 60, and again we'll take 100 and 100. I'm taking some random figures over here and I will submit this. Now the issue has happened is that this data has been loaded, but they have realized afterwards that this has been loaded twice. Data has been loaded twice. If you see the 4 ticket, data has been loaded twice for entity sales. It is required to roll back. So in such cases, it is recommended to basically clear the data. In PBCS, for the sake of clearing any data from any of the members, we have to apply certain business rules. Or else, there's one option: either we can clear the data and reload it. Second option is we can load the data by we can again load the data, and we can use the replace in data management, the option of replace. And the third option is in the smart view. We can see the data coming up here. So we can clear out this data first and we can reload, or else we can load the half of the amount as minus. So there are many options by which this can be done. I can be with either, since it has been rolled up, it has been loaded twice, so this is the double amount coming. Actually this is supposed to be 356, this is 712. Actual amount should have been 356. So either ways, we can either with the help of business rule, we can first clear the data of this period from all these entities, and we can enter the new data either through smart view, or we can load through data management. Or else in the data management option, when we execute the data in the import and export, we can replace the data. Or else here in the smart view, we can clear this data and we can enter the data from here. So if the data is, it is not a bulk amount of data, it is a small amount of data, as you can see on the screen, we can easily do it through the smart view. So first let me clear out the entire data. Okay, now the data has been cleared. Now I will load the data again. Now I am not initially it was, if you see, the figure was double the amount of this. Now I am loading just half of the amount of the data. This is what is supposed to be loaded before, but erroneously it got doubled. Now I will submit the data, and now if you see, this is 356. So if there is limited amount of data we can do through this. Otherwise, if there is a large amount of data, then we need to clear the data first, and then we have to load it through data management. So the last ticket over here, forecast is required to be adjusted by 10%, and the forecast window is closed. So in the cases where some of the members window is closed and we require to adjust it by some certain percentage, let's see how can we do this. Okay, so this is done. I will just delete this so that the figures doesn't affect the next ticket that I'm showing you, and I will submit the data, and I will just delete, and I will keep I'll just keep 2 of the members. Now this is base data. Now let's change the members of the scenario, because we are talking about here if you see forecast. So I'll take revised forecast here. Working is fine, and here we'll keep just one of the entity. Let's suppose 410. Keep the account dimension. We'll keep the account dimension as 4110, and entity I will take just, let's refresh this. Okay, so we have changed the scenario. I'll keep just one of the entity. Okay. Now, here the ticket says that forecast window is closed and we want revised forecast as 10%. So, how right now the forecast window is open because you can see here I am able to submit the figures. Let's suppose if I submit here 200, this is for the month of Jan, and I will submit this figure over here. You will see revised forecast is 200. Now I will go into the application and I will first close. I will tell you how the if any the window is closed. So now what happens? How can you make the window close? So let's go to the scenario dimension, and here this is revised forecast, and just going to the member properties here, and if I do not want anybody to input members here, so I can change the end year, and I am changing it to 23 December 23, and save this, and here refresh the database because this change in the metadata. So if we want users not to input data in any of the scenario or any of the here mentioned scenarios, what we can do is we can provide some end period. Now if I go to the here in the smart view, and if I refresh this now, you will find data has been entered because earlier it wasn't closed, but now I am not able to enter the data. Now we want to have the revised forecast at 10%. So 10% of 200 is 20. So at adjusted forecast, now since the forecast is closed, the 10% revision we will do in the adjusted forecast. So this would be 220, and I will submit this. Now if you see, 200 was already there. If I have entered 200 again, this would have become 400, but they wanted the resolution to the ticket was 10% to be provided at revised forecast. So I have added 10% to adjusted forecast. So this is how such sort of tickets are sorted. That's it for today. If you have any queries, you may contact to www